like Saka, what's he called? Saka. I don't know his first name, but he's like Arsenal, and it's just crazy. He's like one generation from like third world poverty, and now he's like a millionaire playing for Arsenal. He's had all this money invested into this guy, but it has the effect of like a young white English boy is looking at the England team. And he goes, "Oh look, there's Saka. He's just as English as me," but he's not.
Do you think should there be ethnic minorities playing for the England football team?
Good question.
Not the English national team. No.
Wow.
But they were born here. Wouldn't you say so?
But they don't represent England. Saka does not represent England, does he? He's got nothing to do with England. He just happens to live here.
That's interesting.
But he went to school here. He grew up here. People can say he's just as English as the average English.
Just because his parents said, "Come over here and you have a nice life," but they were tricked. His parents were tricked because they're not gonna have a nice life. Yeah, he's got a nice life, but most of his friends, they're like living in poverty.
Okay.
But they all look up to him and go, "Oh yeah, you're great." There's too much.
But if you look at, for example,
he's going to be ruined by having all that money at that age. Like he's got no way of. He hasn't had any guidance on how to deal with all that money and fame. So it's probably going to end badly for someone like that.
That is super interesting. It's going to end badly for someone like that because he hasn't been trained on how to have all of that money. What's interesting is if you go and look at the statistics across the globe, you will find that every single year, more millionaires are creating millions from families which previously did not have any millions. And this is expected. Why? Because technology. This is expected. Why? Because the more readily available education, and by education I don't just mean degrees, I mean all of the different things in terms of education, life experience, access, opportunities. All of these things create opportunities for people to be able to build, generate, develop, and have wealth that maybe their parents didn't have, or maybe their parents didn't have, etc., etc. I think there's some very crazy points being made in this video. And as a result, I would love to know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Do you believe that Bukayo Saka is a good representation for Britain and for young British boys? Or do you believe, as the gentleman said in the video, that if you're a young Caucasian male and you look up to Saka, you've got a problem because Saka's not an accurate representation of the British society? I don't know. I see, here's the thing, right? Most people would be like, Samuel, you just got to be axing people like this. You just got to be like, no, this guy's talking rubbish. Now, the reality is there's a lot of what this guy's saying I think is rubbish. I'm just going to be very transparent. But I'm actually still attempting to see the gentleman's point. Is the point that, because obviously it went into the whole discourse around Saka basically not being worthy to be a multi-millionaire or millionaire or someone with any form of wealth. That's kind of where I felt like the discussion went. But the harder discussion was more so around, is Saka a credible representation in the UK, in Britain, of what it is to be British? Now, the reality is, if I give my 2 pence on that, the reality is this gentleman is never going to know that. He's not going to know that because he doesn't live with Saka. He's not in his house. He doesn't even know his first name. He has no idea to know whether customs, values, traditions wise, Saka is following anything in terms of beneficial or to the detriment of the British country. That's the first thing. The second thing I'd say, which is more so outside of whether this gentleman would know or not, is more so about what this gentleman's holistic view seems or sounds like being. It seems and sounds like to me like this gentleman's holistic view is, you don't look like what I want you to look like, therefore you can't be a good example / role model to my children or to other people that are born here in Britain. And I think that's where we really go wrong, because again, if we look at history, we will start to find out scientifically, historically, and all of these other veins we can go down, that things haven't always looked the way they look now. And if we go based on how things look now, we're having a temporal view at something that's not a temporal thing. All right. So I think that's something to really think about. Now, I understand, I get it, right? There is a big motion and notion inside of the UK around immigration, around the wrong people being here, and around people getting here the wrong way. And all of these things I think are super valid. Why? Why do you think they're valid, Samuel? I think they're valid because a country, just like a business, has to be run with guidelines, with ethics, with etiquette, with rules, with rationale, right? And if your country runs with certain rules or rationale, such as if you don't have the appropriate paperwork, if you haven't gone through the right channels, if you aren't actually an asylum seeker, you should not be here. And if you just hop on a boat without paying money to get on a plane or whatever, like that, if there's rhetoric and framework and rules around getting here, and the country has made those rules in order to protect itself or protect its customs or protect its values from people who desire to disintegrate that, diminish that, or steal that, then they're the rules. They're the rules. Let's follow the rules and let's run by the rules. But if you're someone who just has a limited insight as to human capacity and human culture and human credibility, and off the back of that, you know, maybe you've been reading some research papers that aren't really research papers, and off the back of that, you've got this energy that, oh no, if you don't look like me, you're not a justifiable character to be an example of value to the next generation or the generation after that, then we've got a problem. Because here's the thing, I always often think, especially when it comes to athletes, right? If the athletes win on behalf of the country very rarely has anyone who has anything to say that's negative. Okay. And sometimes you might get the odd weirdo who's going to say, oh yeah, but we would have won if none of the players looked like anyone who doesn't come from here, or whatever language or rhetoric you might use. I don't know. But that's just not the truth, is it? Like, the truth is it won because you had who you had. You got to where you got to because you had who you had. I wonder if a question to ask this gentleman is, well, if you didn't have anyone who looked like Saka on the England football team, would you have done better than come third last month in the World Cup? Like, that's a question I kind of have in my head. You get what I mean? But I don't really need to have that question because I understand historically, first and foremost, Saka has come out in interviews and said the result they got going third was the best result they've got in the last 60 or so years. That, you know, that's something to think about. But nonetheless, I digress. I think it's important to start realizing that when people are winning, they actually, a lot of the time, cast off the restraints, forget the narratives that they have around you're different to me. But when people are losing, one of the first things they look for is a reason to explain away their losing situation for that day. And sometimes, unfortunately, you or I might get caught in the crossfire. We might become the point of their point when they're looking for a reason to explain away why they're not actually succeeding in the way they thought they should succeed. I think this is something to think about, right? If you think about wealth, if you think about money with a limited mindset, with a if he has it, I can't have it mindset, then obviously you're going to look at people who don't look like you as the first targets of why you don't have what you think you are due. But if you're the kind of person who actually has an abundance mindset and you understand how things actually work, you understand that the money we're talking about is money that's printed. You understand that it's creativity that creates ingenuity that allows people to have wealth literally spontaneously. Then you'll start realizing, well, hold on a minute, like someone not looking like me, having resources, having assets, having opportunities, having wealth doesn't take anything away from me. It actually encourages me to know that there's an opportunity available for this to be acquired or for this to be achieved. Or the fact that someone who doesn't look like me has these resources, it actually showcases that that person could potentially become a client of mine if I have something of value for them to find. This is the way the world actually works, even though most people do not have that understanding. Now, these sometimes are some of the pigeonholes people end up in, which cause them to be people that are often always looking for a scapegoat. And yes, the scapegoats are most likely easily going to be people that put themselves out there, like the athletes who are on national TV, legacy media, social media, showcasing their skill set, but also talking their dialogue and their mindset. yes, the targets are going to be people that say, you know what, I've got something to say that I think's of value to a community. I'm going to put it out there. And yes, the community that rock with you, they may rock with you. They may say, yes, Samuel, we loved it. Like, put another video out. But obviously, the haters that don't rock with you are not going to rock with you. And they're going to be the first people that attempt to throw a rock at you. So I just want to encourage you, if you're a leader in your own right, and you're someone who said to yourself, you know what, I'm going to speak out. I'm going to speak the truth that I see. Start with the comments below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this video. But side by side with that, remember that small keys open big doors. And as long as you got your small keys, you can continue to open up those great big doors. Don't be set back. Don't be sidetracked, and don't be, you know, disadvantaged or disenfranchised by other people who have another opinion, because who knows, they might just be a hater. With that being said, Samuel ICanWin, I'm signing out. You know what to do. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, so you can become a part of the tribe. There you go. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Good day. God bless. Let's go.
Small keys open big doors.